Greetings and welcome to the first ever Geoff Matthews podcast, Where the Rubber Meets the Road. Today I just want to give you a quick introduction to the podcast, what you can expect to hear if you tune in over the coming months and years, and a little bit of history about me and my motivation for starting this podcast. I started in the area of environmental conservation about 30 years ago when I was personal private secretary to the Prime Minister of New Zealand. Together with the Prime Minister, we worked on a project to stop the logging of native forests on the west coast of New Zealand. And after I'd finished my stint with the Prime Minister, my 10-year stint by the way, I went on to restore a forest, Pukaha Mount Bruce. I was instrumental in the fundraising of funds from the public to use for pest control on what was then DOC state-owned land. It was the first time in New Zealand's history that the public had donated money for pest control on state-owned land, and the mechanisms to do that, we had to overcome to do that, were significant, and it was a fairly big deal at the time. I also recorded a CD of native birdsong. And we used every available tape. We even used recordings on copper wire of native birds in New Zealand, and we reconstructed what a forest would sound like before human habitation. That CD, Pukaha Songs from the Stop Forest, is still the largest selling native birdsong CD in New Zealand. It won a conservation award, and it's still the largest fundraiser for Pukaha Mount Bruce there is today. Then fast forward from there to 2016, and I had made it my profession to be commercialising businesses. And I was offered the opportunity to commercialise a piece of technology for aluminium smelters globally. And it would enable them to modulate energy consumption, which would enable them to better integrate with renewable energy grids as renewables came into the grid. And so in 2016, I thought, well, this technology could change the world. And how do you change the world? Well, first you start a conversation. So I went and talked to basically anyone that would listen to me. And that involved speaking at numerous conferences around the world, writing numerous papers, journal articles, magazine articles. And I become widely published and probably the world's leading expert on how aluminium smelters could modulate with renewable energy grids, to fit in with renewable energy grids. But it also led me to a much wider field of decarbonisation of industry in total. And I started also talking about that. And I started also making futurist predictions. Now, yes, and I regard myself as a futurist. And if you regard yourself as a futurist, you open yourself up for public ridicule, because futurists are always right and always wrong. And the definition of futurist, by the way, is somebody who regularly writes and speaks publicly about the future. And so I've been doing that since 2016. So that was the background to how I got into the decarbonisation space. But about a year ago, I was sitting with my son watching the news, and my son's 19, and we watched Greta Thunberg, and she came on and made her famous statement, "No more blah, blah, blah." And my son Tom turned to me, and I looked at him and I said, it's true. It is blah, blah, blah. I said, I've been to these international conferences. I've spoken at these international conferences, and it's blah, blah, blah. And he took one look, and Tom said to me, what are you going to do about it? And I thought about it for a while, and I also thought, because I began to tell him about there's thousands of companies out there, and there's thousands of pieces of technology that they are trying to do something, that they can lead us to decarbonisation, the stuff that can be done today, even simple stuff that can be deployed today, from existing technology to lower our carbon emissions. So I thought about how their story wasn't being told, and how do they get cut through the blah, blah, blah. And so I went and took an idea to an existing series of events, sustainable industrial manufacturing, and I said, could I bring SIM to Asia Pacific, and could I put my own spin on it? And they said yes, and they backed me 100%. And so we have started SIM-PAC, Sustainable Industrial Manufacturing, Asia Pacific, silent A, SIM-PAC. SIM-PAC 2023, it's going to be in Gold Coast in November 2023. And it's all about where the rubber meets the road. It is about deployment. It is about the technology that exists today that can make a difference if we start implementing it today. It is about tomorrow's technology. What's going to come tomorrow? What can we start planning for to implement tomorrow? And what's coming in the future that we can take and grab and say that needs more funding. That needs to be fast tracked. And we should invest in that technology because that's going to get us there quicker as well. So SIM-PAC is about those things. And then I thought more about the storytelling and how we couldn't just be a 1 week a year exhibition and make a difference. We want to speed up the transition to decarbonisation. And if that's our aim, we have to be relevant 12 months of the year. So I've created SIM-PAC Live, a YouTube channel, where I'll be interviewing experts from around the world. I'll be interviewing people with great pieces of tech that are ready to go now, with tech that could change the future if in need of investment now, and generally trying to get some traction, trying to get where the rubber meets the road. The Geoff Matthews podcast is my opinion on things, and it's also my futurist predictions on things. And it's slightly different. I will talk about subjects. I hope to broaden people's understanding of the subjects and the issues around. I'm happy to try and cover topics. If anyone thinks they've got a topic, they could leave it in the comment section, and I'll pick it up and I'll discuss it. And that's what the Geoff Matthews podcast is about. I hope you tune in. I'm going to cover some interesting subjects that you may not have given too much thought to, and some of them you may have given a lot of thought to. And so as we traverse those subjects and those fields, we can also hopefully be encouraged by what is happening and have a better view of where things are going for us personally and our industry, and where really is the pathway, and where is the traction, and what is happening today. Thank you very much.